Maria Skłodowska was born in Warsaw in the year 1867, into a family of intellectuals with noble roots and a strong tradition of education. Her mother, Bronislawa, managed a prestigious school for girls, while her father, W. Ladislaw, a graduate of the Faculty of Physics and Mathematics at St. Petersburg University, was the principal of a high school. It was W. Ladislaw who primarily took charge of educating Maria and her 4 siblings, a responsibility he shouldered due to the tragic illness of Maria's mother. Bronislawa suffered from tuberculosis, a relentless disease that forced the family to limit their contact with her despite their deep affection. When Maria was only 12 years old, her mother passed away, a loss that left a profound emptiness in her heart. Just a few years earlier, her sister Zofia had also died of typhus. These family tragedies not only brought sorrow, but also severe financial difficulties. From an early age, Maria displayed a remarkable aptitude for learning. By the age of 4, she was already reading fluently, her sharp memory making language learning almost effortless. She would eventually become fluent in 5 languages: Polish, Russian, English, German, and French. Her interests were diverse, stretching from literature to history. But it was the world of exact sciences that would become her true calling. After completing her education at a girls' high school at the age of 16, Maria yearned for more knowledge. However, further official education for women in the Polish territories was impossible at that time. Overwhelmed by the demands of study, sometimes dedicating more than 10 hours a day, she took a break, spending a year with relatives in the countryside. Returning to Warsaw, Maria began giving private lessons, and, together with her sister Bronislawa, joined the clandestine Flying University. This unique institution, born in the Russian-controlled part of Poland in the mid-1880s, lacked a fixed location, with lectures held secretly in various places to avoid the oppressive eyes of the Tsarist authorities. For women, this underground education was a rare and invaluable gateway to knowledge beyond high school. But even the Flying University could not satisfy Maria's hunger for learning. The Skłodowska sisters dreamed of studying at the University of Paris, known as the Sorbonne, where women were already allowed to pursue higher education. Yet, financial constraints meant they could not go together. Maria, the younger sister, agreed to stay behind, supporting Bronislawa financially with the promise that her sister would eventually invite her to Paris. Maria secured a well-paying job as a governess for the wealthy Zurowski family, living far from Warsaw. Despite the kindness of her employers, she experienced heartbreak when she and their son, Kazimierz Zurowski, fell in love, but were unable to marry due to his family's objections. Heartbroken, Maria returned to Warsaw, where she continued to work and help her family. Her life took a new turn when her cousin, Joseph Jerzy Bieguski, a physicist and chemist who had once been an assistant to Dmitri Mendeleev, allowed her to use the laboratory at the Museum of Industry and Agriculture. Here, Maria took her first steps in scientific research, learning the fundamentals of analytical work that would shape her future discoveries. Finally, Maria's dream came true. With her sister's invitation, she set out for Paris, embarking on a 4-day journey in the cheapest train. She arrived with a modest collection of belongings: some clothes, food, a mattress, and a small table. At first, she lived with her sister, but soon she moved to a small attic room where she could study in peace despite the freezing cold. Her life in Paris was far from easy. During winter, the water in her wash basin sometimes froze, and she often skipped meals to save money. Yet none of this could stop her. Her determination led her to earn degrees in physics and mathematics. A scholarship from the Warsaw Alexandrovich Fund further eased her financial struggle, and she even returned the money after saving enough to help other Polish students. During her studies, she met Pierre Curie, a brilliant physicist who would become her husband and partner in groundbreaking scientific discoveries. Their shared passion for science brought them together, and in 1895 they married, beginning a remarkable partnership that would change the world. Maria's research into the mysterious radiation, discovered by Henry Becquerel, led her to explore the properties of uranium. But her investigations went further, revealing the existence of 2 new radioactive elements, polonium, named in honor of Poland, and radium. These discoveries earned her not only a doctorate, but also the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1903, shared with Pierre and Becquerel. Their success, however, was shadowed by tragedy. In 1906, Pierre died in a tragic accident, leaving Maria devastated. Yet she continued her work, earning a second Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1911 for her research on radium and polonium, making her the first person to receive 2 Nobel Prizes. Despite facing prejudice as a woman and a foreigner in the male-dominated world of science, Maria Curie never stopped contributing. She founded the Radium Institute in Paris, led humanitarian efforts during World War I with mobile X-ray units, and secured radium for the Institute in Warsaw. Maria Curie passed away in 1934 from leukemia, a consequence of her prolonged exposure to radiation. To the world, she remains a symbol of perseverance, humility, and an unwavering passion for science. In the early 19th century, a time when computers were nothing more than a distant dream, a remarkable woman named Ada Lovelace laid the foundation for what would one day become the world of programming. Born on the 10th of December, 1815, Ada was the daughter of the famous poet Lord George Byron, but unlike her father, whose genius was rooted in poetry, Ada's brilliance was destined to shine in the realm of mathematics. Ada's relationship with her father was brief and troubled. Disappointed by the birth of a daughter rather than a son, Lord Byron separated from Ada's mother, Annabella, when Ada was just 5 weeks old. He left England soon after, never to see his daughter again. Ada grew up under the strict and somewhat distant care of her mother, who, fearing that Ada might inherit her father's wild temperament, steered her education towards the rational world of mathematics and science instead of the arts. Despite her mother's strict upbringing, Ada's early years were marked by illness. She suffered from debilitating headaches that impaired her vision. And at the age of 14, a severe bout of measles left her temporarily paralyzed. For nearly 3 years, she was confined to her bed. But even during these difficult times, her mind remained sharp, and her interest in mathematics only deepened. At 17, Ada's life changed forever when she was introduced to Charles Babbage, a brilliant mathematician known for his ambitious project, the difference engine. Babbage was impressed by Ada's intellect, and their friendship soon blossomed into one of the most extraordinary partnerships in the history of science. The difference engine was a mechanical device designed to perform mathematical calculations with precision. But Babbage's true masterpiece was his analytical engine, a far more advanced machine capable of performing any calculation, a true precursor to the modern computer. It was this machine that captured Ada's imagination. In 1842, Babbage gave a lecture on the analytical engine at the University of Turin. An Italian engineer named Luigi Menabrea attended and published an article in French, summarizing Babbage's ideas. Ada was asked to translate this article into English, but she did much more than just translate. Over a period of 9 months, she expanded the original text with her own insights and explanations, adding extensive notes that were nearly 3 times longer than the original article. Among these notes was a remarkable section known as Note G, where Ada outlined a method for the analytical engine to calculate Bernoulli numbers, a complex series of numbers that are important in mathematical analysis. This was more than just a theoretical exercise. It was an algorithm, a precise set of instructions that the machine could follow. The world's first computer program. Ada's notes did not simply describe how to use the analytical engine. They demonstrated a visionary understanding of its potential. She recognized that the machine was not just a sophisticated calculator, but a device capable of manipulating symbols and performing any operation that could be logically expressed. In her words, it could weave algebraic patterns, just as the Jacquard loom weaves flowers and leaves. Sadly, Ada's brilliance was not fully recognized during her lifetime. She died of uterine cancer in 1852, at the age of 36, largely forgotten by the scientific community. But her legacy endured. More than a century later, in 1980, the United States Department of Defense honored her by naming a revolutionary programming language, Ada. Today, Ada Lovelace is celebrated as the world's first computer programmer, a visionary who saw beyond the mechanical gears of Babbage's machines and glimpsed a future where computers could do far more than calculate. Her legacy is honored around the world, with an annual Ada Lovelace Day celebrating the contributions of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. STEM. Even the world of modern technology recognizes her genius. In 2022, NVIDIA launched a cutting-edge graphics architecture named Ada Lovelace. a testament to her enduring influence. Ada's vision, her courage, and her brilliance continue to inspire generations of scientists, engineers, and dreamers who dare to explore the infinite possibilities of the digital age. Katherine Johnson was born in 1918 in West Virginia, a time when racial segregation was deeply entrenched in American society. Her parents, Joshua and Jalette Johnson, were determined to provide their children with a good education. But in their hometown, there were no schools for African American children beyond the 8th grade. Undeterred, the Johnson family made a significant sacrifice. Each school year, they moved nearly 200 kilometers so that their children could continue their studies. From an early age, Katherine's talent for mathematics was undeniable. By the age of 14, she graduated from high school and enrolled in a college for African Americans, where she excelled in mathematics and other sciences. Her brilliance did not go unnoticed, and one of her mentors, William Claytor, even created special courses just for her, recognizing her extraordinary potential. After graduating in 1937, Katherine became a teacher, but her ambitions extended beyond the classroom. In 1952, she learned that the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, the precursor to NASA, was hiring mathematicians. Katherine applied and was accepted, becoming part of a team of women known as computers, human calculators who performed complex calculations by hand. Despite the rigid segregation policies of the time, including separate bathrooms and dining areas for black employees, Katherine's talent quickly distinguished her. Her mathematical prowess and relentless curiosity allowed her to transition from basic calculations to participating in groundbreaking aeronautical research. Katherine's big break came in the 1960s, during the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union. As NASA prepared to send John Glenn into orbit, Katherine was tasked with verifying the complex orbital calculations generated by the agency's computers. Glenn, aware of her reputation, famously insisted, "Get the girl to check the numbers. If she says they're good, I'm ready to go." Katherine verified the calculations, and Glenn's mission was a success. Her contributions didn't stop there. Katherine calculated the trajectories for the Apollo 11 mission that landed the first humans on the moon in 1969. When the Apollo 13 mission faced a life-threatening crisis in 1970, she was among the experts who recalculated the spacecraft's return path to ensure the crew's safe return. Katherine's brilliance, perseverance, and quiet courage eventually earned her the recognition she deserved. In 2015, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama, one of the highest civilian honors in the United States. In 2016, the world learned her story through the film Hidden Figures, which highlighted the remarkable achievements of Katherine Johnson and her African American colleagues at NASA. Katherine Johnson's story is one of brilliance, resilience, and the quiet courage to challenge limitations. Even in the face of discrimination, she carved her place in history, becoming a pivotal figure in America's journey to the stars. Rita Levi-montalcini was born into a world shadowed by prejudice. As a young Jewish woman in Mussolini's Italy, she faced obstacles that would have crushed a lesser spirit. But for Rita, adversity was not a barrier. It was a catalyst. She would later say, with a spark of defiant humor, "If I hadn't been discriminated against, I would have never won the Nobel Prize. I must thank Mussolini for declaring me part of an inferior race." That led me to the joy of research, even if it was confined to my own bedroom. Born in the city of Turin to a Sephardic Jewish family, Rita was the fourth child, sharing her entrance into the world with her twin sister Paula. Her father, an authoritarian electrical engineer, believed that a woman's highest calling was family life, not academic achievement. Yet Rita's relentless curiosity and intellectual hunger could not be contained. At the age of 20, she convinced her father to let her pursue higher education, mastering Greek, Latin, and biology in just 8 months. In 1936, she graduated with honors from the University of Turin's medical school. Her fascination with neurology and psychiatry was sparked by her mentor, Professor Giuseppe Levi, a brilliant histologist who saw in her a rare talent for science. But just 2 years later, in 1938, her dreams seemed to crumble. Mussolini's racial laws were passed, banning Jewish citizens from working in academia. Rita was stripped of her position, her laboratory was taken away, and she was forced into the shadows. But the shadows did not defeat her. In a modest bedroom turned makeshift laboratory, Rita continued her research. With surgical instruments crafted from sewing needles, she began to study the development of nerve cells in chicken embryos. The conditions were primitive, the risks immense, but her determination was unshakable. Her mentor, Professor Levi, who had also been expelled due to the racial laws, joined her in these hidden experiments. As World War II raged across Europe, Rita and her family fled to Florence, adopting false identities to survive. There, her medical training became a lifeline, allowing her to care for the sick and wounded in a refugee camp. Yet even in these darkest moments, she never stopped thinking about science, about the mystery of life and the tiny miracles within each living cell. After the war, her work caught the attention of American scientists. She was invited by Victor Hamburger, a renowned neurobiologist at Washington University in St. Louis, to join his research team. In his laboratory, she met Stanley Cohen, a brilliant biochemist who would become her closest collaborator. Together, they made a groundbreaking discovery: the nerve growth factor, NGF, a protein critical for the growth, maintenance, and survival of nerve cells. In 1986, Rita Levi-montalcini and Stanley Cohen were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for their discovery of NGF. But Rita's influence did not end there. She returned to Italy, founded the Institute of Cell Biology in Rome, and later established the European Brain Research Institute. Her foundation, bearing her name, continues to support the education of young African women, giving them the tools to unlock their own potential. Even in her 90s, Rita remained a fierce advocate for science. In 2006, at the age of 97, she cast a decisive vote in the Italian Senate, using her influence to protect funding for scientific research. When critics mocked her age, she stood undeterred. "The body may grow old," she once declared, "but the mind does not." Rita Levi-montalcini's life is a testament to the power of perseverance, the triumph of knowledge over ignorance, and the unbreakable spirit of a woman who transformed adversity into a ladder to greatness. A scientist, a mentor, and a force of nature, she left an indelible mark on the world of medicine and beyond. In the spring of 1953, a groundbreaking article appeared in the journal Nature. It was a revelation, detailing the double helix structure of DNA, the molecule of life. The scientific community marveled at the work of two English researchers, Francis Crick and James Watson. But beneath the surface of this celebrated discovery lay a story of unsung brilliance, a tale of a woman whose contributions were nearly buried by history, Rosalind Franklin. Born in 1920 in London, England, Rosalind was a bright and determined child. Her family, who valued education and intellectual curiosity, encouraged her ambitions. By the time she was 15, she knew she wanted to be a scientist. She excelled in her studies, eventually earning her doctorate in physical chemistry from Cambridge University. Her early research focused on the structure of coal and carbon, a field where she quickly gained recognition. But her most significant work began when she joined King's College London in 1951. Here, Rosalind was assigned to study the structure of DNA using X-ray crystallography, a complex and meticulous technique that required patience and precision. Working in a dimly lit laboratory, she captured the now famous Photo 51, an image that would later be recognized as the clearest representation of DNA's helical structure. Yet, at the time, she could not have imagined the turmoil her discovery would spark. Her meticulous research and sharp insights laid the foundation for Watson and Crick's model of DNA. Yet, in the male-dominated world of science, her contributions were overshadowed. Unbeknownst to her, Maurice Wilkins, a colleague at King's College, shared her X-ray images with Watson and Crick without her knowledge. These images became the final piece of the puzzle that allowed them to publish their historic paper in Nature. Rosalind was not included as an author on the paper. She received no recognition, even though her work was the backbone of the discovery. Tragically, she died of ovarian cancer in 1958, just 4 years before Watson, Crick, and Wilkins were awarded the Nobel Prize in 1962. Because the Nobel Prize cannot be awarded posthumously, Rosalind never had a chance to be recognized. Yet her legacy grew. Decades after her death, historians and scientists began to uncover the truth of her contributions. In 2002, Brenda Maddox's biography, Rosalind Franklin. The Dark Lady of DNA shed light on her pivotal role. Today, Rosalind Franklin is celebrated as a pioneer in molecular biology. Her name graces university buildings, scientific awards, and even a European Mars rover, a testament to her enduring impact on science. Rosalind Franklin's story is one of brilliance overshadowed, of a woman whose meticulous work paved the way for one of the greatest discoveries in science, even if she was denied her share of the credit in her lifetime. Jennifer Doudna was born on February 19, 1964, in Washington, D.C., into a family of educators. Her mother, Dorothy Jane, and her father, Martin Kirk Doudna. Her father earned a Ph.D. in English literature from the University of Michigan, while her mother held a master's degree in education. In 1971, the family moved to Hawaii, where her father taught English literature at the University of Hawaii, and her mother taught Asian history at the university, as well as history at Hawaii Community College. A defining moment for young Jennifer came when her father gave her a copy of James Watson's 1968 book about the discovery of the DNA double helix. This gift sparked her deep fascination with biology and science. While still in school, Jennifer worked in the laboratory of the renowned mycologist Don Helms at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, gaining early research experience. In 1981, after finishing high school, she enrolled at Pomona College in Claremont, where she studied biochemistry under the guidance of professors Fred Grayman and Corwin Hench. She conducted her research in the lab of Professor Sharon Panasenko. Upon graduating in 1985, Jennifer earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in biochemistry. Her pursuit of science continued at Harvard Medical School, where in 1989 she earned her Ph.D. in biological chemistry and molecular pharmacology. There, she studied under Jack Szostak, who would later receive the Nobel Prize in 2009. In Szostak's lab, Doudna transformed a self-splicing catalytic intron from the tetrahymna group I into an actual catalytic ribozyme capable of copying RNA templates. Her doctoral thesis focused on systems that enhance the efficiency of self-replicating catalytic RNA. After defending her dissertation, Jennifer received research fellowships in molecular biology at Massachusetts General Hospital and in genetics at Harvard Medical School. Between 1991 and 1994, she was a postdoctoral fellow in biomedical sciences at the University of Colorado in Boulder, working alongside Nobel laureate Thomas Setch. Early in her career, Doudna's research centered on uncovering the structure and biological function of RNA enzymes known as ribozymes. Starting in 1994, she joined Yale University as an assistant professor in molecular biophysics and biochemistry. There, her group succeeded in crystallizing and decoding the three-dimensional structure of the catalytic core of the tetrahymna group I-ribozyme. Her team also crystallized other ribozymes, including the ribozyme from the hepatitis delta virus. By 2000, Doudna was promoted to professor of molecular biophysics and biochemistry at Yale and later, in the early 2000s, served as a visiting professor of chemistry at Harvard University. Since 2002, she has been a professor of chemistry and molecular and cell biology at the University of California, Berkeley. Jennifer Doudna is a member of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences since 2002 and the National Academy of Medicine since 2010. In 2016, she became a foreign member of the Royal Society in London. Over her career, she has authored more than 200 scientific papers. Jennifer Doudna's greatest breakthrough came in 2020, when she, alongside Emmanuelle Charpentier, was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Their discovery marked the dawn of a new era in genome editing. As molecular biologist Konstantin Severinov explained, Doudna and Charpentier showed in their 2012 publication that a bacterial immune system, initially studied for its role in defending bacteria against viruses, could be harnessed to programmatically cut DNA in test tubes. This breakthrough opened the door to genome editing. Within 6 months of their discovery, researchers found a way to apply this system directly inside human cells. By targeting and precisely cutting a specific section of human DNA, cells could repair the break with alterations in the genetic code at that site. The CRISPR-Cas system, developed by Doudna and Charpentier's teams and based on bacteria's immune defense, proved to be far simpler than previous genome editing methods, ushering in the era of genome surgery. Jennifer Doudna's work revolutionized biology and medicine, offering tools to correct genetic diseases, enhance crops, and much more. Her story is one of curiosity, persistence, and transformative discovery that reshaped our ability to understand and change life itself. Emmanuelle Charpentier's story is one of passion, perseverance, and groundbreaking discovery. Born on December 11, 1968, in a small town just south of Paris called Juvisy-sur-Orge, she grew up as the youngest of 3 girls. Her father worked caring for the greenery in a nearby town, while her mother was a nurse. From a young age, Emmanuelle's parents encouraged all her interests, from piano lessons to ballet. By the age of 12, she boldly told her mother that she dreamed of working at the famous Pasteur Institute, a place known for great scientific breakthroughs. As a teenager, Emmanuelle knew exactly what she wanted: a life dedicated to medical research. She studied at Pierre and Marie Curie University in Paris, and by the age of 27, she had completed her doctorate at the Pasteur Institute. Her early research focused on understanding bacterial DNA fragments that help bacteria become resistant to medicines. Her first scientific paper, published when she was just 25, described the genes that made bacteria resistant to the antibiotic tetracycline. She examined hundreds of bacterial strains, identifying the genetic sequences responsible for this resistance. This work laid the foundation for her future studies into how bacteria adapt and protect themselves. One of Emmanuelle's most remarkable discoveries was bacteria's ability to use a molecular immune system to recognize and destroy invading viral DNA. This natural defense mechanism intrigued her deeply and would later lead to a revolutionary breakthrough. Determined to lead her own lab at the Pasteur Institute, Emmanuelle realized she needed international experience. Over the years, she worked in 5 countries, 7 cities, and 14 labs, gaining invaluable knowledge and perspectives. She began her global journey at Rockefeller University in New York, then moved through prestigious centers, including New York University's Medical Center, the Skirball Institute, and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Tennessee. After 7 years in the United States, she moved to Vienna, spending another 7 years researching at the local university. It was there that she studied how some bacteria attack viruses by cutting their DNA. In 2009, she relocated to Umeå University in Sweden, joining a new microbiology research center. Her path crossed with American biochemist Jennifer Doudna at a conference in Puerto Rico in 2011. That meeting sparked a powerful collaboration that would change the future of genetics forever. Emmanuelle's dedication to science meant she did not start a family, a choice she discussed openly in interviews. In 2016, she told the New York Times that her life felt somewhat like a monastery, requiring intense focus and passion. She believed that women with families face particular challenges in science due to constant travel and demanding work hours. Since 2013, Emmanuelle has been in Germany, leading the Department of Regulation and Infection Biology at the Max Planck Institute in Berlin. That same year, she co-founded CRISPR Therapeutics, a biotech company developing DNA editing therapies, and later ERS Genomics, another startup in the same field. Her research in the United States had focused on antibiotic resistance, particularly in bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae and Staphylococci. Eventually, she concentrated on how bacteria could target pathogens by slicing their DNA, what would come to be known as genetic scissors. Her study of Streptococcus pyogenes, the cause of scarlet fever and other infections, revealed how the bacteria defend themselves by cutting viral DNA. In 2011, she published detailed findings on this ability and met Jennifer Doudna, who studied RNA. Working from opposite sides of the Atlantic, the two scientists figured out how to cut DNA at precise locations. In 2012, Doudna and Charpentier published a groundbreaking article in the journal Science. They demonstrated that by using a specific protein enzyme, scientists could cut any DNA molecule at a chosen spot, not only bacterial DNA, but that of any organism. Cells would then repair the cut, allowing researchers to introduce desired changes during the healing process. This method, called the CRISPR/Cas9 genome editor, became the most popular tool for gene editing. Though gene editing had been researched for decades under the field known as genetic engineering, Previous methods were complex and time-consuming. The CRISPR/Cas9 system revolutionized science worldwide, promising faster and more accurate DNA modification. Today, this technology is the basis for developing treatments for lung cancer, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, age-related macular degeneration, and various leukemias. It is also being used in agriculture to create new plant and animal species. However, the discovery raised ethical debates. Media stories warned of a future with genetically modified humans, stirring controversy over the morality of altering human DNA. In 2015, leading scientists published a statement in Nature cautioning against human genome editing. Jennifer Doudna herself signed an open letter in 2018 calling for a ban on these methods for human applications. Countries worldwide have since introduced laws regulating CRISPR/Cas9 use, forbidding genetically modifying human embryos for reproductive purposes. Research on human embryos is allowed in some countries like the United States, France, and the United Kingdom, but creating genetically modified children remains banned. Despite this, a notorious case emerged in 2018 when Chinese scientist He Jiankui announced that he had edited the genomes of twin girls to give them resistance to HIV. The experiment sparked intense ethical debate. The girls, named Lulu and Nana, did not receive the intended mutation, but developed other changes. The whereabouts and health of the twins remain unknown due to secrecy by Chinese authorities. Even today, gene editing experiments on human embryos often fail. In 2020, a London biomedical center revealed that over half their DNA modification attempts were unsuccessful. Charpentier and Doudna's Nobel Prize in Chemistry, awarded in 2020, honored their creation of the CRISPR/Cas9 genome editor. Yet, many labs worldwide worked on similar technologies simultaneously. Before their famous publication, Charpentier understood that bacteria's DNA cutting system could be used by scientists to precisely edit genes. While working in Sweden, she and her team debated whether to share early results or wait for full confirmation. After more than a year of secret work, they published in Nature in late 2010 and presented their findings at a Dutch conference. Interestingly, Lithuanian scientist Virginijus Šiksnis from Vilnius University had published related research before Charpentier and Doudna, but faced delays and less prestigious publication venues. The scientific community generally recognizes Šiksnis' priority, and he received a notable Norwegian prize akin to a Nobel. A patent dispute followed Charpentier and Doudna's discovery. In spring 2013, Doudna filed a patent application, followed by Feng Zhang from the Broad Institute, MIT. In autumn the same year, Zhang's patent was granted first due to expedited review. Legal battles over exclusive rights continue to this day. Despite this, the Swedish Royal Academy of Sciences awarded the Nobel Prize to Charpentier and Doudna as the primary discoverers. Long before the Nobel, Charpentier received many honors for her work, including an honorary doctorate from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne in 2016, the Breakthrough Prize in Life Sciences in 2015, and the L'Oriolennesco Award for Women in Science. She is a member of both the French Academy of Sciences and the Academy of Technologies. Listing all her awards would be a lengthy task. Her influence stretches beyond science. Vanity Fair included her among the 50 most influential French people worldwide for 3 consecutive years. Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people in 2016. When receiving the Nobel Prize, the committee highlighted that Charpentier and Doudna formed the first all-female team to win this award in history. At 51 and 56 years old, respectively, they became only the 6th and 7th women to receive the Nobel Prize in Chemistry since 1901. Women scientists can also shape research and make an impact, Charpentier said after the ceremony, hoping to inspire young girls dreaming of scientific careers. On a Monday not long ago, 2 scientists were awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for their pioneering work with messenger RNA, or mRNA, which led to the rapid development of vaccines against the COVID-19 virus. Their discovery played a crucial role in slowing down one of the most challenging global health crises of recent times. One of these scientists is Katalin Karikó, a Hungarian-born biochemist working in the United States. Alongside her American colleague Drew Weissman, she was honored for their contribution to the unprecedented speed of vaccine development during one of humanity's gravest health threats. According to the Nobel Committee in Stockholm, their groundbreaking discoveries transformed how scientists understand the interaction between mRNA and the immune system. Katalin Karikó, who is 68 years old, holds a professorship at the University of Szeged in Hungary and serves as an adjunct professor at the University of Pennsylvania. She became only the 13th woman ever to receive the Nobel Prize in Medicine. Previously, she served as senior vice president at BioNTech, the company that partnered with Pfizer to develop one of the most effective COVID-19 vaccines. The story of Karikó and Weissman's collaboration is almost serendipitous. They met by chance in the 1990s, literally while photocopying scientific papers. From that moment, they began working together and eventually invented a tiny but crucial modification to the building blocks of RNA. This adjustment made the mRNA less visible to the body's immune defenses, allowing it to slip through unnoticed and deliver instructions safely. The mRNA-based vaccine approach works by creating a fragment of genetic code that carries instructions for making proteins. Scientists choose the specific protein of the virus, and then the body essentially becomes a miniature factory, producing the vaccine right inside itself. When the news broke that Karikó would receive the Nobel Prize, her husband was the first to hear. At first, she thought it was a prank, but soon she saw the official announcement. It's interesting to note that recognition for excellence runs in her family. Her daughter, Susan Franchia, is a two-time Olympic champion and five-time world champion in rowing. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, mRNA vaccines had already been tested for diseases such as Zika virus, influenza, and rabies. However, the pandemic brought this technology into the spotlight. Now, researchers are exploring mRNA vaccines for treating cancer, allergies, and even gene therapy. Katalin Karikó was born in Kisichsalaz, Hungary, to a butcher and an accountant. From an early age, she excelled in science at school, graduating from the Reformed Gymnasium named after Moritz Zsigmond. In 1985, after earning her doctorate at the University of Szeged, she moved to the United States with her husband and daughter. She worked at Temple University in Philadelphia and the Medical University in Bethesda. Together with colleagues, Karikó pursued innovative research involving double-stranded RNA for treating patients with AIDS, blood diseases, and chronic fatigue syndrome. In 1989, she began working at the University of Pennsylvania, focusing on a deep exploration of mRNA and its related fields, including RNA-based gene therapy, brain ischemia treatment, and RNA-induced immune responses. In 1997, Karikó met Drew Weissman, marking the beginning of a productive collaboration that would eventually revolutionize vaccine science. Vera Rubin, born Vera Cooper on July 23, 1928, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was a pioneering American astronomer whose work transformed our understanding of galaxies. She is best known for uncovering a puzzling mismatch between the expected rotation speeds of galaxies and what was actually observed, a mystery now called the galaxy rotation problem. This groundbreaking discovery led to the revelation of what we now know as dark matter. Her parents were Jewish immigrants. Her father, Philip Cooper, originally named Pesach Kubshevsky, came from Vilnius, and her mother, Rose Apfelbaum, was from Bessarabia. Vera showed early promise in science, graduating from Vassar College in 1948 with a Bachelor of Arts degree. She then sought to continue her studies at Princeton University's graduate program, only to face rejection because, until 1975, Princeton did not admit women to study astronomy at the graduate level. Undeterred, Vera enrolled at Cornell University, where she earned a master's degree in physics and astronomy in 1951. She went on to complete her Ph.D. at Georgetown University in 1954. In the late 1960s, working at the Department of Terrestrial Magnetism at the Carnegie Institution in Washington, Vera Rubin teamed up with Kent Ford to study the nearby Andromeda Galaxy, our Milky Way's spiral neighbor. Throughout her career, Vera faced considerable skepticism and even hostility from many male colleagues. Early on, when she told her high school physics teacher she had been accepted to Vassar, his discouraging reply was, "That's wonderful. It will be fine as long as you stay away from science." Despite such attitudes, she remained focused and resilient. Her rejection from Princeton did not stop her ambitions. At Georgetown, she deepened her research, and with Kent Ford in the 60s, she made a crucial discovery. Stars at the edges of galaxies move almost as fast as those near the center. This was surprising because, according to Newtonian physics, stars farther from the center should move slower, reflecting the mass enclosed within their orbits. Yet, the visible matter in galaxies was not enough to explain this high velocity at the edges. Vera Rubin's observations supported an earlier hypothesis by Fritz Zwicky, who suggested that unseen dark matter, invisible to light and spread throughout the universe, must exist to account for these gravitational effects. Rubin's work showed that dark matter makes up about 90% of the mass in the universe, far more than previously believed. For many years, her research was met with disbelief. Male colleagues often dismissed her findings as errors or inconsistencies with Newton's laws. Her master's and doctoral theses were criticized and largely ignored, even though the evidence was strong. It was only later, when other scientists confirmed her results, that her work gained the recognition it deserved. In the 1950s, early in her career, Vera worked under the guidance of the renowned physicist George Gamow. She fondly remembered him, saying, "He wasn't good at writing or math. He couldn't even quickly tell you what 7 times 8 was. But he had a mind capable of understanding the entire universe." In the 60s, her research with Kent Ford on the Andromeda Galaxy revealed something astonishing. Unlike planets in our solar system, where orbital speeds decrease with distance from the Sun following Kepler's laws, stars in spiral galaxies like Andromeda maintained high and stable rotation speeds even far from the center. This was strong evidence supporting Zwicky's dark matter theory. During the 70s, Vera Rubin and her team carefully studied the rotation curves of many stars in the Andromeda Galaxy. In the 80s, she extended this work by systematically observing 21 spiral galaxies of the SC type. According to Hubble's classification, none showed the expected Keplerian drop-off in rotational speed. Instead, their rotation curves remained flat, challenging previous assumptions. Her contributions earned her many honors in the 90s, including the prestigious National Medal of Science in the United States and the Gold Medal from the Royal Astronomical Society in the United Kingdom. Vera Rubin was awarded honorary doctorates from numerous universities and academies of science. She authored over 100 scientific papers and several books. She continued her research as a staff member at the Carnegie Institution in Washington until her passing on December 25, 2016. Her journey was marked by perseverance against bias and skepticism, but her discoveries fundamentally changed astronomy. Today, the concept of dark matter is central to our understanding of the universe, thanks to Vera Rubin's visionary work. Flossie Wong-Staal was born as Wang Yi-Ching in Guangzhou, China, in the year 1946. In 1952, her family was among many Chinese citizens fleeing to Hong Kong after the Communist Revolution that swept through China in the late 1940s. During her time in Hong Kong, Flossie attended Maryknoll Convent School, where she excelled in science. Although no woman in her family had ever worked outside the home or studied science, her parents strongly supported her academic pursuits. Throughout her schooling, many teachers encouraged her to continue her studies in the United States. They also suggested she adopt an English name, and her father chose Flossie. After a powerful typhoon that had recently hit Southeast Asia, at the age of 18, Flossie left Hong Kong to pursue higher education. She enrolled at the University of California, Los Angeles, where she earned a Bachelor of Science degree in bacteriology. Remarkably, she completed her degree with honors in just 3 years. Afterward, she continued her studies and earned a PhD in molecular biology from UCLA in 1972. Following her doctorate, she undertook postdoctoral research at the University of California, San Diego, where she furthered her investigations. In 1973, Flossie moved to Bethesda, Maryland, to work with Robert Gallo at the National Cancer Institute. It was here that she began her groundbreaking research on retroviruses. In 1983, Flossie Wong-Staal, Robert Gallo, and their team at the National Cancer Institute identified HIV as the cause of AIDS, making this discovery almost simultaneously with French scientist Luc Montagnier. 2 years later, Flossie became the first researcher to clone HIV. She also performed genetic mapping of the virus, which led to the development of blood tests to detect HIV infection. This achievement produced the first genetic map of the virus, which was crucial for creating reliable diagnostic tests. In 1990, Flossie left the National Cancer Institute to join the University of California, San Diego. There, she founded the AIDS Research Center and continued her dedicated study of HIV/AIDS. Her research focused on gene therapy, using ribozymes, molecular scissors, to suppress HIV in stem cells. The protocol she developed became the second government-funded gene therapy initiative in the United States. Also in 1990, her research team examined the effects of a protein called TAT, found in the HIV-1 strain, on the growth of cells commonly seen in Kaposi's sarcoma, a cancer often associated with AIDS patients. Using a technique known as radioimmunoprecipitation, Flossie's team detected the presence of Kaposi's sarcoma lesions in cells with varying amounts of TAT protein. Their findings showed a direct correlation between the amount of TAT protein in HIV-1 infected cells and the severity of the lesions in patients. This insight played an important role in developing new treatments for those suffering from AIDS-related complications. In 1994, Flossie Wong-Staal was appointed chairperson of the newly established AIDS Center at the University of California. That same year, she was elected to the Institute of Medicine at the National Academy of Sciences in the United States. In 2002, Flossie retired from the University of California and was granted the title of Professor Emerita. She then co-founded a biopharmaceutical company called Emmanuelle with her second husband. Recognizing the urgent need for improved hepatitis C treatments, she shifted the company's focus towards hepatitis C therapy and renamed it accordingly. That same year, Discover magazine named Flossie Wong-Staal one of 50 outstanding women scientists. She remained a professor and medical researcher at UCSD until her passing on July 8, 2020. In 2007, the Daily Telegraph ranked Wong-Staal as the 32nd greatest living genius. The Institute for Scientific Information honored her as the leading female scientist of the 1980s. In 2019, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. Flossie Wong-Staal's career reflects a remarkable journey, from a young girl fleeing political upheaval to a pioneering scientist whose discoveries shaped the world's understanding of HIV/AIDS and advanced medical science significantly. Maria Telkes was born on December 12, 1900, in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. From a young age, she was fascinated by chemistry. At just 11 years old, a school experiment inspired her to create her own little laboratory in her family's garden shed in Budapest. There, she conducted various homemade experiments, one of which caused a loud but harmless explosion. This early curiosity for science blossomed into a lifelong passion that guided her future. Back then, women made up only about 14% of all university students in Hungary. So Maria's decision to pursue higher education was quite bold. As a freshman at Budapest University, she came across a book about alternative energy sources, which profoundly influenced her career path. She dreamed of a future where people in developing countries could access free energy from the sun. Maria earned her doctorate in 1924 and spent some time teaching at the university. However, driven by a desire to work where solar energy research was more advanced, she emigrated to the United States. By 1928, she had secured a position as a biophysicist at the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, a non-profit medical center. There, Maria invented a device called the thermobattery, which converted sunlight directly into electricity. Her groundbreaking work caught the attention of the media and scientific community alike. In 1937, she became a U.S. citizen and took on the role of research engineer. In April 1938, she learned about an ambitious project at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, focused on harnessing solar energy. Exactly the kind of program she had dreamed of since her university days in Hungary. Eager to join, Maria approached the team, but when no position was offered, she traveled to Massachusetts in person. She demonstrated her thermobattery prototype, which was 10 times more efficient than existing models. Impressed, the project accepted her in July 1939. Unfortunately, the outbreak of World War II shifted national priorities. Maria became a civilian advisor for the U.S. government's Office of Scientific Research and Development. During this time, she tackled a deadly problem faced by downed aircrews stranded at sea: dehydration. She designed an inflatable desalination kit, a plastic balloon-like device that could purify seawater through repeated condensation inside it, turning salt water into drinkable water. The U.S. government loved the idea and ordered 100,000 units. However, internal conflicts at MIT delayed production, and none were delivered by the summer of 1945. After the war, the compact desalination device was finally included in military survival kits, and Maria received a patent for her invention. Maria continued to explore how to efficiently convert and store solar energy. She came up with the idea of heating homes using sodium sulfate. Containers filled with this chemical would absorb heat during the day and release it at night to keep buildings warm. She convinced her supervisor to approve the project, and in 1946, construction began on a house on the university campus. Though promising, the experiment failed when the containers leaked, and Maria was removed from her position. Yet, she refused to give up. Her next project, called the Dover Sun House, seemed successful at first. However, the high electricity bills from running fans to distribute warm air raised doubts. By 1953, Maria was let go from MIT. Her fears were confirmed. Solar heating was considered impractical, and for decades, architects avoided projects involving solar energy. Undeterred, she joined New York University's Engineering College, where she led a solar energy lab and developed a solar furnace. This small but powerful device reached temperatures up to 350 degrees Celsius without any fuel other than sunlight. Maria lived her dream fully. She even wore a pendant depicting Inti, the sun god worshipped by the Incas, symbolizing her deep connection to solar power. Photographer Madeleine de Sainty recalled meeting her. With one hand, she was applying lipstick, and with the other, she pulled out patents for her own inventions. After 50 years of scientific work, Maria had earned over 20 patents just in the U.S. She stayed active at the Institute until her retirement in 1978, and continued consulting on solar energy until the end of her life. In 1995, she returned to her homeland for the first time in more than 70 years. She passed away in Hungary just 10 days before her 95th birthday. Maria often spoke about the link between the unused potential of the sun and the unused potential of women scientists. She urged society to tap into both for the greater good. Today, solar panels are everywhere, and schools in South Carolina, San Francisco, and Ohio bear her name, honoring her lasting legacy.